You have over here a phenomenon. So it starts on page after the burning bush, and which is where we got to yesterday, and then take a look at page through about 308. So God sends Moshe Rabbeinu off on this. Journey. On this mission, not a journey. He sends Moshe Rabbeinu off on the mission. He sends Moshe Rabbeinu off on his journey to go and rescue the Jewish people. And you have over here an interesting phenomenon, which is a theme that runs through the entire Torah. Now, if those of you who are familiar with any of the Torah concepts, page 308, have you ever heard the idea of Avram Avinu, Abraham? What was his outstanding trait? Chesed, kindness. You heard that idea? Have you heard that idea? Avram Avinu is the trait of kindness. Yitzchak Avinu, did you ever hear what's the trait of Yitzchak Avinu? Din, strict justice. Yira, fear, man who's willing to get on an altar and allow himself to be sacrificed. Yaakov Avinu, ever heard what is it? Well, that's from a Kabbalistic point of view. What is Yaakov Avinu's main trait? Truth. Titain emes liYaakov. Yaakov is the man of truth. So you have Avram Avinu is kindness, Yitzchak is strict justice, and Yaakov is truth. Now, watch this. Let's take a look at the life of Avram Avinu. First thing we find is God tells him to abandon his elderly father. Second thing we find is he tells his nephew to take leave. He throws one son out of the house, Yishmael, banishes Yishmael from the house, gets involved in a world war, commits an act of self-mutilation on himself and his entire household, and he takes a knife to the neck of his second son. And he's the man of kindness. There's nobody in the Torah who's running around with a blade as often as Avram Avinu. Right? He's always got a knife in his hand. He's always slicing or getting ready to slice somebody, right? It's Avram, and he's the man of kindness. He fights a world war. He's the man of kindness. Yitzchak is strict justice. Yitzchak is din, what's called gvura, strict justice. Yitzchak is the one who tolerates the wayward son. Yitzchak is the one who we find entertains his wife. Yitzchak's name means laughter. Yitzchak is the one who, when he mixes up with the Plishtim, he backs off even though they were wrong for stealing his wells. And everything you see Yitzchak doing is exactly what you'd expect Avram Avinu to be doing. Seems to be an act of kindness, of being willing to bend over backwards. Yaakov is the man of truth. There's nobody in the Torah you will find as involved in any con schemes as Yaakov Avinu. He deceives his brother, he deceives his father, steals the birthright, deceives his brother again. He gets involved with Lavan, who's a deceiver himself, and he mixes up with Lavan. Everywhere you see there's an act of deception going on. So what the Torah, this theme follows, in probably the ultimate, who's the most humble person in history? How do you know? The Torah says so. Who wrote it? Moshe Rabbeinu. That's interesting irony. No one was ever as humble as me. Right? Now, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote those words. Right? It was dictated by God, but he wrote it. Seems to be the opposite of humility. Moshe Rabbeinu is the leader of the Jewish people, and which seems to be the opposite of humility. Moshe Rabbeinu says to God God says, okay, Moshe, why don't you send out the Jewish people? Listen, God, can you please send somebody else? Moshe Rabbeinu is arguing not to do it. So you see that this is a theme that runs throughout the Torah. There are other examples as well. And this theme that runs through the Torah is teaching you is that the definition of a character trait is not that you're naturally born a certain way. If you have a trait, the definition of being a person who is humble is that when you have to turn it on and stand up and be counted, you're able to do so. Otherwise, you're not humble, you're a worm. A person who's kind has to be able to fight a war because that needs to be done right now. If a doctor's kind, and he's got a patient, and the patient has gangrene, he needs to cut his foot off. And the doctor says, well, I can't, that's cruel. I just can't do that. I can't give him an injection, I don't want to inflict pain. You're not kind, you're cruel. The definition of the trait means that you rule over the trait. A dentist who can't put you in pain is not a good dentist. That's the definition of a dentist. He's got to get you rolling over there. I have a great dentist. My dentist is a great dentist, does a great job. It's just his bedside manner He just uses my chest to lean his elbow, So there's once in a while, he does great on the teeth. It's just that my chest hurts when I leave. It's not like so. A dentist, that's the job. That's the job. So the definition of a humble person. This is one of the most confused. What is humility? What's the definition of humility? Somebody comes over here and says, hey, you painted a great painting over there. I guess that's a great painting. We'll call it a great painting. I say, hey, hey Ben, that's a great painting. And you say, no. No. What does no mean? You didn't do it? Then you're a liar. You did do it. I saw you painting it. So what does no? Guy hits a home run. 50,000 sophisticated people are on their feet screaming his name, right? What's he supposed to look up at the stands and go like that? Right? That's not humility. What does that mean? We saw you do it. Humility doesn't mean denial. Not only does it mean denial, you have a responsibility to know what your abilities are. Every single person in this room has talents, abilities, and capabilities. And not only you're responsible to know what they are, you're responsible to use them. So you got a guy who's a chazan with a great voice. He's a chazan. What, he shouldn't use his voice? Of course he should use his voice. But just realize that your ability to, it's like the chazan comes to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I'm having trouble with my haughtiness. He says, why? He says, I'm up there belting them out, and I'm, I'll tell you the truth, I'm pretty good, and I'm just, my ego is, my gaiva, my haughtiness is running away. So Rabbi says, oh, you want to work on it? Just pull the talus off your head, turn around and look how people are laughing at you. You won't be so happy. The people in the show are laughing. You won't be so. See, you have to understand what is. So let's say you do have a good voice. What, the guy's got a good voice, doesn't know he's got a good voice. An artist doesn't know he's an artist. The guy didn't know he did home run. Of course you know you did. Humility is the ability to A, recognize what your abilities are, B, recognize where it comes from. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you a gift, you have a responsibility to use the gift, but realize where the gift comes from. There's nothing to be humble. What are you arrogant? Because God created you a certain way. God created, what can I do? People tell me I look like Tom Brady. Okay, that's how it's created. What can I do? It's not, that's just the way it is. I can't, I don't want to brag about it, but that's just the way it is. So, why are you laughing, Yisrael? Tom Brady, okay? So he didn't have the beard, you'd probably notice it more. But if a person has an ability, a person has a talent, has a gift, that's what you're meant to use. But it's only because God gave it to you. God gave it. Sometimes people are wealthy, and because they're wealthy, it goes to their head a little bit. Listen, God blessed you. It's like they asked the guy, how did you become wealthy? He said, look, I was selling newspapers when I was 9 years old. I was delivering newspapers. At 16 years old, I was working 2 jobs in 2 different restaurants. Then my rich uncle died, left me $40 million. That's how I made my money. So what did you do? So you're rich. So what? Prince Charles never worked a day in his life. So what did you? You got a gift. So recognize where the gift came from. Who recognizes the gift more than anybody else? There's no coincidence that it's Moshe Rabbeinu who also has the greatest perception of God. The Torah says he was the greatest prophet and had the greatest degree of prophecy, the greatest connection to God. The more you're connected to God, the more you realize how small you really are. And the more you realize your connection to God. So I realize it's all about God, it's not about me. So there's nothing for a person to be humble, there's nothing for a person to be haughty about. Therefore, a person understands that the two are not mutually to the contrary. You have a responsibility to use your gifts, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the most humble person in history, now has the test of having to go to the opposite direction to show, are you in control of your humility? Good. Now stand up and lead the Jewish people. Now we'll see. That's the test of you going against the nature, whatever your nature is. Now you have to go to the opposite direction. Yeah.
Do you ever have the responsibility not to use the gift that you gave?
Absolutely. If it's against, it's a good question. If the gift is something that is halachically forbidden, then you can't use it. Let's say a woman has a great voice. Say there's a woman who has a great voice, and according to halacha, a woman's not allowed to sing in front of men. She wants to sing on Broadway. It's a very, very difficult test. For many people, it's an agonizing test. A woman has a great voice. She wants to be a Broadway performer. She can't. About all she could do is sing in a frum old age home. She could perform in an old age home where the people can't hear you anyway. That's a very, very difficult gift. A guy has a gift. I knew a guy was a radio announcer in Israel. A frum guy radio announcer. So before he became a radio announcer, he had to ask a question, because when you Israeli politics, and you're reporting the news, and a lot of it is lashon hara, a lot of it is disparaging. Israeli news is all disparaging. It's only degree of how disparaging it is. He said he's low, what everybody said about everybody else. It's very interesting, but it's lashon hara. So he had to ask a question before he took the job. Let's say you're a great chef, you're a professional chef. You'd love to cook, but you can't cook in a non-kosher eating establishment. So what do you do? Be a kosher chef? You mean you make cholent? It's like a Bubby Bernstein's cholent joint. Oh, good. Wow, a French chef. He knows how to peel potatoes. It just doesn't cut it in Jewish establishment. Okay, you have a challenge. Any of these things that you may have an ability to challenge. Let's say a guy's a boxer. According to halacha, you can't box. You could kill or you could get killed. So you're not allowed to be a boxer. You're a race car. You're what do you call it? A Hollywood stuntman. Right? If you're going to be a Hollywood stuntman, it's what do you call it? It's a very serious question because these guys are doing life-threatening things. So it sounds okay. Guy has the ability to do it. Doesn't mean you just have the ability. That becomes a very, very very big challenge. So you can't always use your abilities. You have to know when is it a test and when is it something you're responsible for. Let's say you have organizational skills. So it could be you should go head a hospital or something. You do something that benefits the people there. You have to use your skills, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now Moshe Rabbeinu shows us over here, and we're going to see a tremendous a lesson in personal growth over here now. At the bottom of page 308, God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, we're 4 lines from the bottom on page 308. So God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ve'ato lech. It's 4 lines from the bottom on page 308, Pasuk Yud Beis. Moshe Rabbeinu says, God says, Ve'ato lech, now go. Ve'anochi ihiyeh im picha, I'll be with your mouth. In other words, I'll help you out. And I will instruct you what you should say to the Jewish people. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Vayomer bi Hashem, please God, shlach no biyad tishlach. Please send the one that you normally send. That means all the years that the Jewish people were in Egypt, who was the leader of the Jewish people? Who was it who was guiding the Jewish people? It was Moshe's brother, Aaron. Now, Aaron is older than Moshe by 3 years. So now God is coming to Moshe Rabbeinu, and God is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, I want you to be the leader of Jewish people. So Moshe Rabbeinu's first concern is, but I got an older brother, and he's going to be hurt by this. I mean, how would you like it if your younger brother rises to, it's a difficult thing for the older brother. Moshe Rabbeinu says, please send you. If it's sent Aaron for the last 80 years, he's been the leader. Now you're choosing me, please send Aaron. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's concern for his brother. I can't take the position. My brother's going to be hurt. If no other argument helps, then that argument. So what does God says? Vayichar Hashem b'Moshe, 2 lines from the bottom. God gets angry at Moshe, so to speak. Vayomer halo Aaron achicha alevi yadati ki daber yadaberhu. I know Aaron, your brother, will speak. He's going to be the spokesman. V'gam hine hu yotze likrasecha. He's coming out to greet you. V'roacha v'samach belibo. He will see you, and he will rejoice in his heart. All right, now there's a very big lesson over here. Aaron's going to see you, and he's going to rejoice in his heart. So what's God saying to Moshe Rabbeinu? God's saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, you're worried about your older brother being jealous of you because you're getting the position of prominence over here. I'm telling you, Aaron is going to see you, and something only God could know. He's going to rejoice. He's going to be happy for you in his heart. Aaron is going to be happy for you. Now, the Medrash says, what was Aaron's reward for this? What was his reward for he rejoiced in his heart for Moshe Rabbeinu. Anybody know what was Aaron's reward? The kahuna. The Kohen Gadol wears that chest plate with the gems, with the 12 stones. If you're ever in Israel on Purim, if you guys are here for Purim time, so you'll see a lot of little Kohen Gadol's running around on Purim. That's one of the popular outfits that one of the popular costumes that little boys wear. There are a lot of Kohen Gadol's running around with chest plates on Purim. The chest plate, the choshen that Aaron wore with the 12 gems, a very, very a position of honor, and he's wearing he's all decked out. He's very, very impressive looking. Aaron wears the chest plate, the Medrash says, which goes over the heart, because in his heart he was happy for Moshe Rabbeinu. Right now, this is probably one of the biggest challenges in life. One of the biggest challenges in life is to rejoice for somebody else's good fortune. It's a very difficult thing to rejoice for somebody else's good fortune. Just imagine you're trying to get a job. You're trying to get you're working in an accounting firm. And you find out that the guy at the next table just got promoted to the next position up, the one that you wanted, and now he is the chief administrator, or he became a vice president, whatever it is. How do you feel? Oh, I'm just so happy for him. Just so happy for him. It's very difficult to be happy for people. It's very, you've been unemployed for 2 months, you're looking for a job, and your friend says, hey, you know what, I was at the mikvah on Friday, and the guy just tapped me on the shoulder, and he said to me, he's looking for a guy, at 6 figures, to take over. I'm just so happy for you. Shame I didn't catch you in the mikvah. I would have dunked you under the water. I'm just thrilled. I'm just so happy for you. It's very difficult to be very happy. Guy says, yeah, I got engaged. No kid. Yeah, she's a great girl. And her dad, she's the only daughter of a 90-year-old man who's a multi-trillionaire on a respirator. I'm really happy for you. That's great. Where's all the money going? It's all going to his daughter when he goes. And how soon's he gone? Well, as soon as I get a pillow over his face, he's gone. He's almost, Oh, I'm just so happy for you. I couldn't be happier for you. Oh, yes, I could. I'd be happy if it was me. That's human nature. I had a guy here once in the yeshiva. Guy came in years ago. So I asked him a very, very interesting, very challenging question. I said to the guy, what's your goal in life? You'd be amazed how many people are stumped by that question. What's my goal? I mean, I'm going to a restaurant this week, yeah. There must be something better. What's your goal in life? Where are you trying to get to with all this? Where's all this going? The question many people have never bothered really trying to get an answer for, or they do try to get an answer, they get so confused that they're so annoyed by it. I said, what's your goal in life? The guy told me he was with the Ohio State marching band. In a marching band, how many of you are into American? You're all American here? Or if you're not American, you should be. But the what do you call it? They in college football, they have marching bands. A marching band is, they come out at halftime and annoy you until the second half begins. That's that's essentially what the marching band is. So he was a member of the Ohio State marching band, and at halftime of the biggest game of the year against Michigan, the Ohio State marching band forms the human formation. They spell out the word Ohio State. So this guy played the tuba, which is the most annoying of the annoying, and he played the tuba. The senior tuba player has the singular honor at halftime of the biggest game of being the one who gets to dot the I in the word Ohio, in Ohio State. So one guy has to stand there and be the I, and apparently this is the ultimate honor that any human being could possibly reach for. And the guy said to me his goal in life was to dot the I. The guy said that to me, and I'm looking at the guy as he's saying, I'm thinking to myself, no, really. I think there's what's the next goal? And then you get to cross the T. Oh, look out, that's a guy you want to hang out with because he can cross the T. So that's your goal in life. So then I was thinking about it afterwards. By the way, today the guy is frum, he's married, he has a frum family. And what do you call it? So I was thinking about it afterwards. It's very interesting. In modern Hebrew, you ever see a dot? Did you guys learn grammar, Hebrew grammar? What's a dot called in Hebrew? No, that's a dot. A nekuda is a dot, but the official a dugesh. When you dot the I, it's a dugesh. That's why you emphasize. You know what the word dugesh means in Hebrew? Dugesh means to emphasize. That's why a soft letter becomes a harder letter. If you take a suf, you put a dot in it, it becomes a tough. If you put a dugesh in a chaf, it becomes a kuf. It becomes a harder sound because you're emphasizing it. That's what the dugesh means. So I thought about afterwards when the guy said to me his goal in life is to dot the I. I thought about afterwards the irony is that he's really speaking for a society. The goal of our society, we live in a society where the goal of society is to put the emphasis on the I. To dot the I, put the emphasis on the I. That's exactly what everybody's goal is. When you put the emphasis on the I, it's very difficult to be happy for other people. Very difficult to be, I'm so happy for you. Yeah, where do I fit into the picture? That's exactly the problem. You're worried about fitting into the picture. You're worried about you. You're worried about you. That's very common, and that's how we were born, and that's how God created us. A baby is born, only knows one thing. When a baby is born, he only knows one thing. I exist. That's all he knows. Doesn't know daddy, doesn't know mom, but he only knows that he exists, and he shares that with his parents, usually at about 2 a.m., they also know that he exists. And if the baby is colicky, then you know it for 24 hours. A baby only knows about I. So I know there are many people who never get past that infant stage. Their whole life is a series of I exist. Aaron HaKohen is teaching us, how you're able to you can actually get to the point where Aaron was actually happy for Moshe in his heart, not just, congratulations. V'racha, look at the words of the Pasha. The Torah says, V'racha v'samach belibo. In his heart, he's happy for Moshe Rabbeinu. You know what the key to that is? The key to that is the first word. Viracha, you have to see the guy. Our problem in life is we don't see people. Our problem is we don't even see people. You look at somebody else and all you see is a reflection of yourself. What can this person do for me? Viracha v'samach belibo. You see the other person. If you see the other person, you realize there are other people in your world. You can actually get to the level where you are happy in your heart for the other person. It's obviously, arguably, it's much easier to empathize with a person in their moment of sorrow than it is to be happy for a person in his moment of success. Because when a person has sorrow, so we empathize and we're more than happy to let them have all the sorrow. We don't want any of it. But when a person has success, we'd like a piece of the action. And therefore, it's much easier for a person to empathize for a person. The Torah is teaching you over here, that's the way you get past it. The way you get past it is realize there are other people in your world. Do you ever hear people say, you try to remember a person's name? You ever hear the people say, well, I'm not good with names? I'm sure just about everybody who has forgotten a name says, oh, I'm not good with names. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're great with names. You're great with names. I guarantee you're great with names. You know why? Because I say, I got somebody I'd like to introduce you. There's a man over here who's running a company, and he's looking for a guy to start him off at 6 figures. I'd like to introduce you to him. You think you'll remember his name? Oh, well, you'll remember his name. Oh, you sure will remember his name. The reason you don't remember most people's names is because you never even heard the name. Because when I introduced you, I say, hi, Chaim, this is blah, 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 blah. That's all you heard. But here, it's not that you forgot his name. You never heard the name. You never heard the name because you don't care about the other person. You're too busy thinking about the impression you're making. If I introduce you, I say, oh, by the way, I want to meet you. Oh, I got a guy over here who's looking to hire somebody, very few hours, lots of great pay and great benefits. Would you like to meet the guy? Yeah, come here, I'll meet the guy. And it doesn't matter what the guy's last name is. The guy's Kaplayovich. You'll remember that. You'll remember, oh, I thought you're not good with names. You're very good with names. You're very good, especially when the name helps you. Then you're good with names. That's the rule. The rule is that if you see other people in your world, then you remember. Then you have a chance. Okay? That's what the Torah says.